Hello friends, in this video I'm going to walk you through how I kind of get a gauge on business sentiment to see how businesses are doing in the markets using these fundamental data sets. They're really important and there are quite a few and they tell you different things. So let's do a quick look at it. This is a hands-on with Python and Jupyter notebooks. The code is included. Just look in the description of the video and you'll get the link. Nothing complicated from Python, but it's just a good way of being able to learn how to do these graphs and especially also where to get the data sets. But before I dive in, welcome to the ViralML show. My name is Manuel Monetizing. I'm your host. This show will be under viralml.com under the channels in the channels drop down and go to finance. And here you'll see all my other videos on finance, on all sorts of different indicators and fundamentals, and you can get all that there. Please sign up for my newsletter. It's right here in the middle of the page where you can get early access to my videos, deals on my Udemy classes, and announcement about books. Also, this is new. I added this tweet me feature where you can now communicate with me directly through the site, and as long as you have a Twitter account and as long as you use the hashtag viralml, I will see it and I'll be able to respond and participate. So please give the video some thumbs up. It's always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. Awesome. So let's get to it. As I said, the link to the Jupyter notebook is right there in the descriptions. So go to it. Let me make this a little smaller. No, let's make it bigger there. Yeah, it's fine. So we're going to need a few data sets as usual. With this one, we're going to require a few because we're going to look at different business data sets to understand things from different angles. The first thing is always, the S&P 500. It's the barometer to the world. I love the S&P 500. It's not only mostly U.S. companies, but a lot of these U.S. companies are so big, so important that they have, they do business around the world. So it's really that one gauge of how the world is doing. This one is very easy to do. You go to yahoofinance.com and type in the search bar *GSPC. That's the index symbol for the S&P 500. And once you're there, hit the historical button right here, the historical tab, if you can see it. The date range, get as much data as you can. Hit max, done, apply, and then download. And this will download it to your local machine. Make sure it's downloaded and then move it to a folder wherever you want to work from. And make sure it's also where you're running this Jupyter notebook as well. Do the same thing for the Russel 2000. So the Russel 2000 is part of the Russel 3000, which are 3,000 kind of mid-cap companies. And the Russel 2000 are the smallest of those 3,000. And they created an indicator which you can read, which is a great thing to do because the S&P 500 are huge. And the Russel 2000 gives you a different picture of what's going on, and they're usually very different, as you're going to see here. And the Dow Jones, this is the top 30 huge companies. It's always good to have to compare as well. We're going to do the BCI, the Business Confidence Index. On this one, you can get it through the OECD site. The link is there. Just click on the link, go to the OECD Business Confidence Index, and you'll see a button here, download. Hit that and do full indicator data, and it'll be a CSV. And the PMI, and I'll talk about those in a second. The same thing. PMI, actually, no, it's a different site. It's Quandl. The link is there. Quandl, you need an account, but it's free. So go ahead, get an account. Quandl has phenomenal data sets, including a lot of esoteric stuff that hedge funds love, like, parking lot occupancy, mall, people at the mall, that kind of stuff. But a lot of that is not free. But they have also a lot of free data sets, like the PMI Composite Index. Go ahead, get it there. Simply make sure it's max. So you have the max button. Usually it is. And hit CSV, and that too will download it into your local folder, And finally, we're also going to get the Green Street Capital Property Index CPPI, sorry. And here it's, you go there, you'll have to, here it is. Scroll down and go download CPPI data, and it's a CSV. So you'll need to kind of get the columns you want, cut those and paste those into a CSV file or into Excel, but save it as a CSV. So there's a little bit of work needed to be done, but it's not that complicated. So here, let's just briefly go through it. This is how I would do it. I would download it in an Excel spreadsheet. Click on it, so it opens it up, and I'm going to resize it so we can actually see what's going on. Here, hopefully you can see enough. And I simply went like this. I took I started highlighting the date, all property, core sector, and highlighted, just copied and paste all that all the way to the bottom. Get as much data as you want. Get a lot. I always like to get as much data as possible. And you'll see the latest data is at the bottom. And copy that, and then open. The best thing to do is open a new spreadsheet. Open a new one. and I simply pasted that in here. I delete this empty row. I don't like the empty row. There's no need. And there I said I do. And then I just save it as a CSV file. So you go, file, save as a CSV, and, save it at whatever name you want, right? And that's what I use in this example. Okay, so I already have mine saved, so I don't need to spend too much time on here. So you will need to, load all these into memory, put them in the same folder where you're going to run your Jupyter notebook. First thing we're going to do is the S&P 500. We're going to load it in memory. And let me just walk you briefly through what we do, because it's very similar. We're using the pandas read _CSV to open it. I have a path to market, so that's the path. That's a path that points to where all this data is, and it's usually something that I use with a date like that. I can have different folders with different dates, and I know where my data is. I cast the date to a date time. It comes out as an object. Matplotlib needs them as dates in order to display them properly. I removed. There's a bunch. You'll see there's a bunch of fields. For example, there is a date open, high, low, close, adjusted close. Use the adjusted close and the date. The rest I'm just going to throw out, though it could be interesting for other types of studies and research. And I rename them to S&P 500 _ close. Like that, we're going to rename all of them, and like that, we'll know exactly what they are. Adjusted close wouldn't tell us anything, because when you add them to, sometimes you may want to bring them all into a single data frame, right? And you want to be able to differentiate them, or even when you're plotting them, it helps in Matplotlib to say this is the S&P 500, not the adjusted close. Finally, I print the min and max. This kind of gives you, how much data you have. We have data from 1950 to 2019, so quite a lot of data. And I always sort the data. This is critical. I can't emphasize that enough. You always need to sort it, because we are going to be getting data from different data sources. Some do it in ascending order, some doing in descending order. Always get in the habit of always sorting everything in ascending order, like that you know what's going on. Down the road, you may want to apply moving averages, percentage changes. You'll know that you're always looking at the data the same way. So I always sort everything in ascending order by date, and I do the tail to see what we have. Perfect. Same thing for the Russell 2000. Same thing for the Dow Jones. As you can see, the Dow Jones symbol is _DGI. The Russell 2000 is _RUT, R-U-T. And you can get those two on Yahoo Finance. So let's just do a quick plot, because remember, we want to see how businesses are doing, and these are all business indexes, so they're fantastic. So I'm going to do copies of the Russell 2000, S&P 500, and Dow Jones. And it's going to allow me to kind of cut it off by date, because I don't want to look at the whole thing, right? We have data, in some cases, we have data from 1950s on. I don't want to go all that way back. I just want to go to 2015, just see a few years up to today. And that allows me to kind of cut all the data sets by this date, but keep the originals intact if I want to go back and maybe look at it differently, a different segment. It's a good habit to do. So on the first axis, I'm going to put the Russell 2000. It's very simple, right? It's Matplotlib. I'm sizing it. I'm sizing the plot.subplot, something nice for Jupyter notebooks. I am adding the label and the coloring right here, and I'm doing the date by the close, right? So this is pretty obvious. I'm plotting my legend in a specific area, and I'm putting a title, and I like to have a grid on my charts. Then I open another axis. So basically now we have two y-axes. They're going to share the y-axis on the date, but they're going to have two, they're going to share the x-axis as a date, but they're going to have two separate y-axes now. And you do that by calling ax.twinx, and that adds a new axis. And anything underneath is going to go on that new axis, and we're going to put the S&P 500, same deal. And this one I'm going to put the legend in the upper left. I'm going to open a third axis. And this one, so now we have three y-axes. It gets complicated. And here we're going to put the Dow in its, and we'll call that one red. So here it is, right? So here we can look at it. Look at what we have. We have in blue the Russell, right? And in green and in red, we have the S&P 500 and the Dow, which are very similar, right? This is what's interesting. They're very large companies, and they kind of, move in lockstep. What doesn't move in lockstep is the Russell 2000. So these are mid-cap companies, and look at that, right? So even though it looks like, we're doing new highs here, and we're, the S&P 500 and the Dow seem to want to, soon break out, maybe above again, the Russell 2000 isn't. It's kind of going downwards, right? Look, these are lower highs, lower lows, or and it looks like kind of flat, right? So this is very interesting to look at. Don't always look at the S&P 500, which I know in these videos I'm always say look at the S&P 500, the barometer of the world. It's always good to look at other ones like the Russell 2000, a huge grouping of mid-cap companies, and to see, yeah, indeed, they're not doing as well. This kind of going down, right? If you did a linear regression here, it would be downward from this point on. Okay. Let's do the BCI. So the BCI is I love the BCI, the Business Confidence Index, and I like the PMI as well because they're not quantitative. Well, they're quantitative because they deal with numbers, but they're actually surveys that are sent out to big businesses, and they ask them, what's your outlook? How are your supplies? How are all sorts of things like this, and it's a survey, and basically they compile all these surveys together, and they have a 100 line. Anything above the 100 line means businesses are doing good. Anything below means businesses are not doing so good. And that's really very simple. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to plot it. And when you plot it, look at it. I'm plotting it with the S&P 500 for comparison, so 2 axes. And look at that. This is the BCI, and you can see it's been going down, and it's down here well below that 100 line, right? So we saw that in 2016, in 2012, and a huge dip in 2008 for the Great Recession. But it's going down, so I thought that was very interesting, something to keep an eye on to see what's going to happen next months. These are monthly numbers, so you only see them in a month. That's why the blue line is so smooth compared to the S&P 500 here, which is a daily business day, every open day. Monday through Friday is usually open, so you'll get one new price. Here the BCI, we only get it once a month. The PMI is also very similar. It's also a survey-based index, and same concept. Though the PMI is very interesting because and on Quandl you can get all the breakdowns, supplies, hirings, all sorts of things. And here, it's the same concept, except it's the 50 line. So anything above the 50 line means businesses are doing good, growing. Anything below, businesses are not doing so good. Things are kind of, contracting. And look at this. It's going down. It's below the 50 line. And what's interesting here is we saw, a little bit here, a little bit in 2015, a huge amount in 2008. And I think that's why you're going to hear a lot of people talking about the PMI, because they're concerned. Why is it, below that 50 line? Is it bad? Is it a harbinger of bad things to come? So that's very interesting. Finally, real estate. This is the CPPI, which is the Green Street Commercial Property Price Index. There are a bunch of these CPPIs out there. This is the one I found where I could actually access the data. There's another one which you have to pay for the data. But this is very interesting because it's a bit like, the Case-Shiller or, the VNQ, all these real estate ones. This one specifically for commercial real estate. That's what I like about it, and it gives you also a different feel, right? I think maybe retail real estate may lag compared to commercial real estate. I mean, that's my opinion. I haven't analyzed both. It probably would be very interesting to do. And here, the way I'm loading the data, because it's from our own CSV that we created, it's a bit different, but hopefully it works for you. Same deal. Always, casting a date to a date time, renaming things so they're somewhat similar naming convention as what we had before, and doing the sorting, which it doesn't look like I'm sorting here. And that's bad, right? You always should be sorting it. So I'm going to scroll back up. You're going to have to forgive me here, but I'm going to fix my mistake here. I'm just going to copy the sorting code. There. Always sort, always sort, always sort. You don't, you'll get into trouble. And I have gotten into trouble many times because of that. So super simple to do. It's, your data frame dot sort underscore values by date and ascending true. And there it is. So here we're going to do the same thing. I'm doing a temporary. I'm gonna overlay the S&P 500 with CPPI. I'm gonna go from 2007 to today because I like to get. In this one, we're going to look at the 2008 crash, right? The Great Recession, and let's see what it's doing. And look at that, right? So it definitely, if you look at the dates, right, it was going up a lot. It would just skyrocketed from the depth of the 2008 Great Recession. It went up from 2010 to 2016, and it's been slowing down ever since, right? But it's still kind of going up, which is interesting to see. So another one to look at, the CPPI, to see how commercial real estate is doing. So this is kind of a few of these business indexes I like to look at. Obviously, the S&P 500 is kind of the big one. You always look at that one. But it's also interesting to look at the other ones, especially the more qualitative indexes that come from surveys. I think that's very interesting. They could be leading indicators if you know how to use them. So as usual, I like to plug plug my books at the end of the show. This one, the little book of fundamental indicators, I have based a lot of the examples you see here on chapters from this book where I talk about these same indicators. And you can find this book. You go to Amazon.com, put my first and last name, and you'll have all my books here. There's quite a few. And you'll see them here. And, also don't forget to sign up for the newsletter right here. And, check out the Twitter chat. Tweet me, say hi. I just installed it the other day and I like to play around with it. Awesome. Anyways, thanks for watching the videos and give it some thumbs ups. Much appreciated.